Welcome back to The Clean Truth by Roobi.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited for this one.
I am too. So this is already our 36th episode, which is just wild. And today's topic is summer cooking overload, keeping your air fryer fresh through heavy use.
Oh, summer's just peak air fryer season. I mean, you're using it constantly, right?
Exactly. We are doing quick meals, throwing in veggies from the garden, heating up frozen foods for the kids, prepping stuff for outdoor gatherings. It gets a serious workout.
It really does. And with all that increased cooking, grease, oils, food particles, they all just accumulate so much faster inside the appliance.
Yeah, and if you ignore that buildup, it's not just gross to look at. It actually reduces the airflow, affects how your food cooks, and creates those really unpleasant smells.
Yeah, and smoke. Nobody wants their kitchen filling with smoke during a summer party.
Definitely not. So in a very practical sense, today we're going to discuss simple maintenance habits that keep your air fryer clean and efficient without needing, hours of scrubbing.
Because it should be easy. And honestly, this ties perfectly into something like Roobi's air fryer cleaning bundle, which is all about easy maintenance and just taking care of your appliances long term.
Exactly. So let's learn how a few minutes of maintenance can keep your air fryer fresh all summer long. Because to do this, we are doing a deep dive into a fantastic, real simple article by Wendy Rose Gould.
Yeah, it's called I Found the Best Way to Clean a Greasy Air Fryer, and it's practically effortless.
Which is the dream, right? Because, okay, picture this. You wash the basket, it looks completely clean, you set it on the drying rack, but then you run your thumb across the metal, and there it is.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
That tacky, stubborn, slightly sticky film that just refuses to leave. It is one of the most uniquely frustrating experiences, honestly, in the modern kitchen, because you're looking at a surface that should be pristine.
Right, but it feels completely wrong.
Yes. You try scrubbing it again with dish soap, and nothing changes. It's like the grease is invincible.
It's an incredibly common frustration.
Yeah.
Because we are so used to this binary cleaning process. You apply soap, you apply friction, the mess goes down the drain.
Right, the standard dishwashing logic.
Exactly. But when you step into the world of countertop convection appliances, you're dealing with a completely different category of grime. You're basically applying traditional cleaning logic to an environment that entirely defies it.
Which is exactly why we are on this rescue mission for you today. We're going to decode exactly why that basket gets so uniquely gross.
And, more importantly, give you a foolproof, scientifically backed method to actually keep it pristine.
Because we love our air fryers. I mean, they heat up instantly. It's the only way to get a perfectly crispy Brussels sprout on a Tuesday night without turning on the big oven and heating up the whole house.
And reheating pizza? Flawless. A microwave could never.
Never. But we really have to address the dark side of that convenience, which is that indestructible grease buildup. So before we even talk about cleaning it, we need to understand the physics of the mess.
Yeah, the why is super important here.
Right. Why is this grease so much more stubborn than just a normal oven splatter?
Well, the confusion usually starts with the ingredients. I mean, if you think about what you're putting into the machine, it doesn't seem to make sense.
How so?
You're probably just tossing your vegetables in a very small amount of oil, right? Like maybe a teaspoon or two.
Right. And if I put a single teaspoon of oil into a normal frying pan on the stove, fry an egg, and then take it to the sink, I can wash that pan in 10 seconds.
Yeah, with just a regular sponge. But that exact same amount of oil in the air fryer becomes an absolute nightmare.
Why is that?
So the article brings in Rochelle Wilkinson. She's a cleaning expert and the owner of Dirt Detective Cleaning Services. And she explains this discrepancy perfectly. She points out that the core function of the air fryer is actually what creates the mess.
Okay, let's unpack this, because thinking about the internal environment of that basket completely shifts your perspective.
It really does.
Because it's not just a tiny, quiet oven, baking your food. It is essentially a mini hurricane of hot oil.
That is a great way to describe it.
Right. The fan kicks on, it takes that tiny bit of liquid oil, atomizes it into these microscopic droplets, and just violently whips it around the chamber at 400 degrees.
Yeah, it's actively painting the walls, the grate, the heating element. Every single crevice gets coated in this vaporized grease.
And it doesn't just sit there, does it?
No, and what's fascinating here is that the vaporized state is crucial because as it gets painted onto the walls, a chemical transformation actually occurs.
A chemical transformation?
Yeah, the intense heat and the high-velocity circulation cause the molecular structure of the oil to break down and change. It goes through a process called polymerization.
Polymerization, wait, meaning it's turning into a polymer, like a plastic?
Essentially, yes. The individual fatty acid chains in your cooking oil,
Hmm.
they start to cross-link and bond with each other because of that intense heat.
Okay.
So they form this tough, sticky, resilient lattice. It is literally no longer liquid oil. It cures onto the metal surface as a resin.
Oh, wow. So it's not grease anymore. It's basically a resin coating.
Exactly. And here is where it gets worse. If you don't remove that resin completely, the next time you use the machine, you're baking another microscopic layer of polymer right on top of the old one.
So it's compounding. You're just layering plasticized grease over plasticized grease.
Which is exactly why extra oil, really high heat, and long cook times make the problem so much worse. The longer the heat is applied, the more complex those molecular bonds become.
Well, that completely explains why my standard pump of dish soap on a wet sponge does absolutely nothing.
Oh yeah, trying to wipe away polymerized resin with a regular sponge it's like trying to melt a block of ice with a flashlight. You're bringing the completely wrong tool.
Yeah, you aren't fighting a fresh liquid, you're fighting a baked-on chemical chain.
Right, we have to move away from brute physical force and rely on chemical intelligence.
I love that. Chemical intelligence. And that brings us to Wendy Rose Gould's heavy-duty rescue protocol.
Yes, this is the game changer.
It is specifically designed for these caked-on, tacky messes. And it's incredibly simple, but you do have to kind of set aside your need for immediate gratification.
Very true. You have to be a little patient.
So, step 1, you just boil a pot of water. Step 2, pour that boiling water directly into the base of the cool air fryer drawer.
Just right into the basket.
Yep. Then, to that hot water, you add a generous squirt of degreasing dish soap and a sprinkle of baking soda. And just mix it up a bit to dissolve it.
And then the third step is the critical one. And honestly, it's often the hardest for people who just want to get the kitchen cleaned up and closed for the night.
You walk away. You let it soak for about 30 minutes, giving the water time to naturally cool down. And once it's cool enough to touch safely, step 4 is to scrub gently with a rough sponge or a dish brush, rinse it thoroughly, and just dry it.
It's such an elegant solution. It relies on the interaction of temperature and those specific ingredients to dismantle that polymer lattice we just talked about.
But I have to play devil's advocate here, because I know exactly what a lot of you listening are thinking right now.
Uh-oh. What is it?
30 minutes is a really long time when you just want to finish the evening chores. So why can't we just bypass the chemistry and use brute force?
Please don't do that.
Like, why not grab a heavy-duty scrubber or steel wool or a magic eraser, put some serious muscle into it for 2 minutes, scrub the resin off, and just be done?
I know it is a very tempting shortcut, but it will permanently ruin the appliance.
Yeah.
You absolutely have to resist the urge to use harsh physical abrasives.
Because of the coating, right?
Yes. The vast majority of air fryer baskets are coated with a nonstick surface, usually Teflon, which is polytetrafluoroethylene, or a ceramic alternative.
Right.
And those coatings are exceptionally fragile.
Yeah.
If you take steel wool or melamine sponge to them, you are physically gouging the nonstick layer right off the metal.
Which is bad for obvious reasons. Nobody wants flakes of nonstick coating ending up in their summer French fries.
No, definitely not. That's the immediate health concern. But from a maintenance perspective, the damage goes even deeper.
How so?
Think about the surface of that basket on a microscopic level. When it's brand new, it is perfectly smooth, so oil has a really hard time gripping it.
Okay, that makes sense.
But when you scrub it with a harsh abrasive, you're carving these microscopic canyons and scratches and grooves into the material.
Oh, I see where this is going. If we think back to our mini hurricane of hot oil.
Exactly. The next time you cook, that atomized oil gets blown directly into the new, jagged canyons you just carved into the surface.
Wow.
You've basically given the polymerized grease a textured foundation to anchor into. It acts like Velcro.
So you're making the basket exponentially harder to clean every single time you use it after that.
Yes. You trap yourself in a vicious cycle where the appliance becomes permanently sticky.
So just by trying to save 28 minutes of passive soaking time, you basically destroy the main feature of a $100 appliance.
And guarantee that your cleanup will be miserable forever. It's the harsh reality of nonstick coatings. You really have to let the chemistry do the heavy lifting.
Okay, so let's break down exactly how that chemistry works during that 30-minute soak. We've got boiling water, dish soap, and baking soda. What is each component actually doing while we are off, watching television?
It's basically a three-pronged attack.
Yeah.
First, the boiling water provides immense thermal energy. Polymers are tough, but they do respond to heat.
Right.
So that sustained high temperature causes those cross-linked molecules to expand, soften, and become pliable. It breaks their grip on the metal.
Okay, so the heat loosens it up, and the dish soap.
The dish soap introduces surfactants. Now, surfactant molecules have a very unique structure. One end is attracted to water, the other end is attracted to oil and grease.
Oh, interesting.
So once the heat softens the resin, these surfactant molecules wedge themselves between the grease and the metal. They act like microscopic crowbars, lifting the oil away and suspending it in the water.
Which just leaves the baking soda. What does that do?
Well, baking soda is mildly alkaline, and most cooking greases and food residues are slightly acidic.
Okay.
So when you introduce the alkaline baking soda to the acidic grease, it triggers a mild chemical reaction called saponification.
Saponification. Wait, what does that mean?
It literally converts a portion of that stubborn grease into a water-soluble soap.
Wait, really?
Yes. So instead of fighting the grease, you are chemically altering it into a substance that wants to be washed away.
You are turning the enamine into soap to help clean the machine. That is brilliant.
It really is. Chemistry is amazing.
Now, there's one more vital piece to this rescue protocol. The article includes a fantastic tip from Claudia Meneses. She's the CEO of Avanti Green Eco Cleaning.
Yes, I love this tip.
Because she notes that sometimes, even after the 30-minute soak, there might be a tiny residual hint of tackiness, and her solution is white vinegar.
Vinegar is a perfect finisher. Because it is highly acidic, it easily cuts through any lingering alkaline residue left behind by the baking soda and soap.
Right.
And it also breaks down the final, absolute thinnest microscopic layer of grease. It just leaves the surface completely neutral and squeaky clean.
But, and this is a massive safety warning attached to this step, Claudia specifically instructs you to spray the white vinegar onto a microfiber cloth and then use the cloth to wipe the basket.
Yes.
You must never spray the vinegar or any liquid directly into the machine itself.
That is such a critical distinction. Because the air fryer is fundamentally a small convection oven, sure, but it is also a complex electronic device.
Right, it plugs into the wall.
Exactly. And right above that cooking chamber is an exposed heating coil and the high-speed fan unit. If you point a spray bottle into the machine and pull the trigger, you are introducing atomized moisture straight into the electrical housing.
Which sounds like a fast track to a short circuit.
A short circuit, rusting the delicate heating elements, or just completely frying the motherboard. I mean, you have to treat the main housing of the appliance like you would treat a laptop.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah, you wouldn't spray liquid glass cleaner directly onto your keyboard, right?
Right.
You spray the cloth. Same exact rule applies here.
Spray the cloth, wipe the machine. Okay, so we've decoded the physics of the oil hurricane, and we have a deep clean protocol that protects the non-stick coating. But let's shift gears, because a 30-minute soak is a great safety net, but what if we just stop the mess from happening in the first place?
Yes, prevention is everything.
Exactly. Let's dive into the art of prevention, because the ultimate goal here is to respect your own time and work smarter, not harder, especially during the summer when we're using it constantly.
Right. Wendy Rose Gould outlines several preventative habits in the article, and they basically all revolve around controlling the environment inside the basket before and after the heat is applied.
Okay.
And the first habit is the most foundational one. Wash it after every single use.
Okay, listen. I am fully prepared to admit my own failure here, because it is so easy to make a quick batch of frozen sweet potato fries for lunch, look inside the basket, see a few dry crumbs, and think, that's basically clean.
Oh, we all do it.
And then you just push the drawer back in and ignore it until the next day.
It's total human nature to conserve effort. But this is where understanding the mechanics actually changes your behavior.
How so?
Because even if you don't see large puddles of oil, that invisible layer of atomized vapor we talked about is sitting on the walls.
Right, the hurricane residue.
Yes. And if you wash it immediately while the grease is still relatively fresh, it hasn't fully cured yet. It just wipes away with minimal effort.
Because it hasn't had the time to fully cool, oxidize, and harden into that polymer.
Exactly. Fresh grease is a liquid, or at worst, it's like a soft paste. Aged grease is glue.
Glue.
And if you use the machine a second time without washing it, you are subjecting that unwashed glue to another 400-degree cycle, permanently baking it onto the metal.
Which brings us back to the plastic resin. So wash it immediately. That's rule 1. The second preventative habit is utilizing inserts. Now, Wendy discusses both silicone and paper liners in the article, but she really has a strong preference for paper. Why is that?
Well, silicone liners certainly have their place, particularly if you are prioritizing reusability and environmental impact.
Sure.
However, from a strict maintenance standpoint, you are kind of just transferring the problem. You still have to scrub a silicone liner, which can also develop that sticky polymer buildup over time.
Well, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
But paper liners operate on a completely different physical principle.
It's called capillary action.
Capillary action. Wait, like how a plant pulls water up from its roots.
A very similar mechanism, yeah. The microscopic cellulose fibers in the paper act like tiny empty tubes.
Okay.
So as the food cooks and releases excess fat, the paper doesn't just passively block it. It actively draws the liquid grease into its fibers and holds it there.
Oh, wow.
So when you pull the paper out, you are lifting the vast majority of the loose grease completely out of the environment. The basket underneath remains virtually pristine.
That makes perfect sense, especially for things like marinated chicken wings, where you know there's going to be a lot of liquid rendering out.
Now, what if the fan is the main culprit spreading the grease? How do we control the oil before the fan even has a chance to pick it up?
That leads to the third habit, which is all about application technique. The absolute worst thing you can do is let liquid oil pool at the bottom of the basket.
Because of the fan.
Right. If you have a puddle of oil sitting on the grate, that high-speed fan is going to hit it, aerosolize it, and blast it everywhere.
So we need to ensure the oil is adhering to the food, not the machine.
Yes. Wendy suggests using a very light mist from a spray bottle, but honestly, an even more reliable method is just tossing your vegetables or protein in a separate bowl with the oil before they ever see the inside of the air fryer.
Right, because if I toss broccoli in a mixing bowl with a teaspoon of oil, I am mechanically forcing the oil to coat the chloress.
Exactly.
The fat is clinging to the food. So when I transfer that broccoli to the basket, there is no loose liquid waiting to be blown around. We are basically cutting off the hurricane's fuel supply at the source.
You are dictating exactly where the fat goes, which drastically reduces the amount of free-floating vapor in the chamber.
Okay, here is where it gets really interesting. This was, to me, the absolute standout insight from the entire Real Simple article. The final preventative habit: switch to an oil with a high burn point.
Yes, this changes everything.
Wendy notes that olive oil is the default for most home cooks, but she specifically swaps it out for avocado oil because of its higher burn point. Now, normally we talk about smoke points solely in terms of flavor. You don't want your food tasting acrid or burnt. But why does the burn point dictate how hard a machine is to clean?
Oh, this is the Rosetta Stone for the entire air fryer dilemma.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, back to our earlier discussion about polymers, we have to look at what a smoke point actually represents chemically.
Okay.
The smoke point isn't just the moment an oil starts to taste bad. It is the exact temperature threshold at which the molecular structure of the fat is destroyed.
Wait, really?
Yes, it is the exact moment polymerization goes into overdrive.
So when an oil hits its smoke point, it is rapidly forming those cross-linked, sticky, plastic-like bonds we were talking about.
Precisely. Now let's look at the numbers. Extra virgin olive oil is relatively delicate. It typically reaches its smoke point somewhere between 350 and 375 degrees Fahrenheit.
And almost every single air fryer recipe calls for cooking at 390 or 400 degrees.
Exactly. So if you coat your potatoes in extra virgin olive oil and subject them to a 400-degree hurricane of heat, that oil is instantly and continuously bypassing its structural limit.
Wow.
It breaks down, it polymerizes, and it turns into resin at an incredibly accelerated rate. By using olive oil in an air fryer, you are aggressively manufacturing liquid plastic and painting the interior of your appliance with it.
That is wild. The oil choice is literally creating the glue.
It is. Now look at the alternative Wendy suggests. Avocado oil has one of the highest smoke points of any cooking fat available. It often holds structurally sound up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit.
Which is a full 100 degrees higher than the air fryer's maximum temperature.
Exactly. So when you coat your food in avocado oil and blast it at 400 degrees, the oil easily survives the environment. Its molecular structure remains perfectly stable.
Right.
It does not break down, it does not burn, and critically, it does not polymerize. It just remains a relatively normal liquid fat.
Which completely changes the cleanup, because when you go to wash the basket, you aren't fighting a baked-on, cross-linked plastic resin. You are just wiping away normal, unaltered grease.
Yep, the surfactants in your dish soap can easily lift it right off.
That is incredible. It's a prime example of how understanding the invisible mechanics of cooking, in this case, thermal degradation, solves a very visible physical problem in the kitchen.
It really does.
So swapping olive oil for avocado oil isn't just a flavor preference, it is literally a structural defense strategy for your appliances.
I love looking at it that way.
So let's recap the journey we've taken today to rescue you from that post-dinner cleanup dread. We started by looking into the murky reality of why the air fryer gets so sticky in the first place. We discovered that the appliance isn't just baking grease. Its high-speed fan atomizes the fat, while the intense heat chemically alters it into a polymerized resin.
Right, and we learned that fighting this resin requires chemical intervention, not physical force. We have to avoid harsh scrubbers like steel wool that gouge the fragile nonstick coating and create those microscopic canyons for future grease to cling to.
Yeah, no Velcro baskets.
Exactly. Instead, the heavy-duty rescue protocol relies on boiling water to thermally soften the resin, dish soap to act as a surfactant crowbar, and baking soda to trigger mild saponification, literally turning the grease into soap.
And we finish by exploring how to stop the mess before it starts, relying on fluid dynamics and heat thresholds, washing the basket while the grease is fresh and liquid rather than waiting for it to cure into glue,
Utilizing the capillary action of paper liners to trap excess oil.
tossing our ingredients in a bowl to ensure the oil clings to the food rather than pooling at the bottom of the drawer, and making that crucial swap to a high-heat fat like avocado oil, preventing the polymerization process from ever happening in the first place.
It really comes down to working alongside the physics of the appliance rather than fighting against them.
Absolutely. A little bit of knowledge completely transforms a chore that used to require 20 minutes of angry scrubbing into a 3-minute effortless habit. Plus, you're protecting the longevity of a fantastic piece of technology.
Which is exactly what we want.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive today. But before you head into the kitchen to check on your air fryer basket, we want to leave you with a larger thought to consider.
It does make you wonder about the ripple effects of technology.
It really does. I mean, the air fryer is a marvel. It saves us time, it uses less energy than a massive oven, and it creates wonderful textures. But it's very designed that high-speed, confined circulation creates a hidden maintenance debt. We only realize the cost of that convenience when things get impossibly sticky.
Yeah, that's so true.
So here's the question we want to leave you with today. What other conveniences in our modern lives, whether it's the technology on our countertops, the devices in our pockets, or the systems we rely on daily, might be secretly generating invisible long-term messes simply because we don't fully understand the hidden mechanics behind how they operate? Are we continually trading a small amount of visible, immediate effort today for a much more complicated, sticky reality down the line?
That is a great question to ponder.
Keep that in mind the next time you expect a perfectly clean, easy finish line. Thank you for exploring the science of the everyday with us. Until next time, keep your appliances safe and your curiosity sharp.